we're going to talk about a story that is just incredible. It's about one of the most beloved saints in modern history, and the single, split-second moment that changed literally everything for her. We're diving into the Christmas grace of Saint Therese of Lisieux, a story of a truly profound and sudden transformation.
I mean, think about it. Have you ever wondered about that? Can a person really truly break free from a lifelong habit or a really deep-seated part of their personality in just an instant? Well, Therese's story gives us a pretty stunning answer.
Okay, so to really get the miracle of that one Christmas, we first have to understand the secret behind the saint that so many people call the Little Flower. See, before she became this spiritual giant, she was actually trapped by a really profound personal struggle.
A lot of people know Therese of Lisieux, right? Her autobiography, Story of a Soul, is an absolute spiritual classic. But here's the thing that often gets overlooked. The peaceful, resilient saint we all admire was once a deeply troubled young girl, totally trapped by a weakness she just couldn't seem to overcome on her own.
And that weakness brings us right to the central conflict of her early life. Before she could ever become the saint we know, she had to escape what she herself called a prison made of her own feelings.
So, what was this great weakness? It was an extreme hypersensitivity. I mean, any tiny criticism, any small slight, would send her into these uncontrollable floods of tears. And it wasn't just about being emotional, it was a kind of self-absorption that became this huge obstacle to her spiritual growth. She was just so focused on her own fragile ego that she couldn't really give herself to anyone else.
Now this is where the story gets really fascinating. Therese had already experienced a major miracle. A few years before all this, she was cured of a really serious illness after she saw a statue of the Virgin Mary smile at her. She even called it the most beautiful day of my life.
But, and this is the absolute key, that incredible miracle healed her body, but it didn't heal her soul. The hypersensitivity, the tears, the self-pity, all of it was still there. A direct intervention from heaven wasn't enough to solve her core problem, which honestly just makes what happened next even more extraordinary.
And this brings us to Christmas Eve, 1886, the night a single moment of grace would do what years of her own effort and even a past miracle could not.
So here's how it all went down. The family gets home from midnight mass. Therese, who's 13 at the time, still loves this tradition of checking her shoes by the fireplace for gifts. But as she's heading upstairs, she overhears her dad, who's tired, sigh and say, "Well, thank goodness this year will be the last of it." Now, this was exactly the kind of comment that would normally have sent her into a total meltdown. But this time, something was different. Instead of collapsing in tears, she felt this overwhelming rush of spiritual strength.
You know, her own words really capture it best. The work I had been unable to perform in 10 years was done by Jesus in a single instant. All her struggles, all her failed attempts to get a grip on her emotions, just gone in a flash.
So what did this transformation actually look like? Well, the change wasn't just some internal feeling. It was immediate, it was permanent, and it was obvious to absolutely everyone around her.
I mean, the change was night and day. She went from being this fragile, self-focused girl to being completely centered on other people. The girl who needed constant coddling was suddenly ready for a life of radical self-denial. And those constant tears, they were replaced by this profound, unshakable joy.
And the proof was right there, that very night. She went back downstairs and unwrapped her presents with genuine cheer like she hadn't even heard her father's comment. And from that moment forward, the compulsion to cry was just gone. The sudden maturity was the key that finally unlocked the door to the Carmelite monastery, which she entered just 2 years later, totally prepared for a life of sacrifice.
Now, this personal victory wasn't just about her. It actually became the foundation for a spiritual path that would go on to change the world.
See, it's so important to get this. The Christmas grace wasn't just Therese finally growing up. It was a fundamental reordering of her entire soul. She was finally liberated from that prison of self-obsession, which freed her up to focus completely on love.
And out of this new freedom, her famous Little Way was born. This is the idea that you don't need to do grand, heroic things to be holy. Instead, it's all about doing the small, everyday things with extraordinary love and trust. It was a path she could only find after she finally stopped worrying about her own feelings all the time.
And you can't overstate how important this idea was. The Little Way, which was born from that one single moment on Christmas, was so theologically profound that it eventually led to her being named a Doctor of the Church,
which is one of the highest honors a saint can receive. It's a recognition of their immense contribution to Christian thought. You know, Therese' story really leaves us with a powerful question. Her fetters, as she called them, were her own sensitivities. And it just makes you wonder, what fetters in our own lives, the things we've been trying and failing to change for years, might just be waiting for their own moment of grace?